This is Stryker of Enyo, and this is my game review for Her Majesty's Spiffing. So, you might be wondering, well, what kind of game is this? I've seen it on the release list for a while, but no one else has really covered it. There's not many reviews for it. Well, it's an independent game, and it's a very short game, but it is a comedy point-and-click adventure with British sensibilities. And if you're rolling on the floor just because I said that, what's wrong with you? I didn't even say a punchline, Jesus. But yeah, so that's basically what this game is about. Apparently, in this world, the Queen has invoked the royal prerogative for dissolving Parliament and taking control over the country herself in an attempt to make Britain dominant again. Of course, trying to reconquer Earth isn't going to work, so they blast off into space. But yeah, the title, Spiffing, is not... it's not a thing that you're thinking of. It's actually an organization with an acronym. Spiffing is Special Planetary Investigative Force for Inhabiting New Galaxies. Yeah, that's a pretty big mouthful, but that is what it is actually referring to. It's not really that huge on the Star Wars, but it is a short adventure game that's pretty good. It's got a lot of humor to it, a lot of British sensibilities. And yeah, it's really not too bad, but it is an incredibly short game for the price.
What's going on? What are you playing at, boyo?
I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. It felt like someone else was in control of my inhibitions.
Just give me the driver so we can GTFO.
GTFO?
Get things functioning and online.
So while this is from an independent developer, that this actually is their very first game, the visuals aren't too bad, and it controls and moves around kind of like what you would expect from your standard 3D adventure game nowadays. You can interact and grab objects, you can examine them. It's done in a very streamlined way, and when you're looking at items, they automatically get highlighted when you're standing in the right area. Holding down the button will bring up your interactive wheel that you can either pick up an item or examine it, get some funny dialogue, and so on.
Peace of mind.
And you actually move the character around directly instead of just pointing your cursor on the screen and having the character go to certain places. You have your own bag that you can put things in, you can examine things, you can turn it around, and sometimes, yes, you can actually find additional clues or additional humor on objects by turning them around or examining them again. So yeah, it kind of works the way you would normally think, and you can combine items together in order to solve puzzles. And the puzzles, they're really not that obtuse. You're not going to be, say, putting a rat underneath the couch with a candy bar in order to get your wallet and retrieve it. Trust me, you don't want to know the game that happened in. But yeah, so the puzzles are all actually relatively logical, and you don't have obtuse pairings, really. And the dialogue is pretty funny.
I just need to connect to the internet first. Bingo! Found it!
There's also a number of references in the game, as you would imagine, like Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, Star Trek. Even Schrodinger's cat makes an appearance. You know, a lot of pop cultural science fiction elements that definitely don't overstay their welcome. But in the same sense, it's also kind of a hodgepodge of various references, and not necessarily satire, that don't really make the game its own. I mean, in Spaceballs, they were definitely copying Star Wars, and everything was kind of lifted from that universe. And you could definitely identify with what they were doing, but here, you know, it's not necessarily one style or the other. They're kind of copying all these separate elements, but then again, you know, it's an adventure game that's going to take you about an hour and a half to go through, so they don't have a whole lot of time to really introduce lots of characters, but I definitely would like to see more from this universe. My final thoughts. Yeah?
And how are you going to stop me? By the power of Grayskull, I have the power! Oh, monsieur, I can't believe you actually said that.
So in the end, we have a game that actually performs fairly well. There's only a couple of hiccups in frame rate, and there's one point where the game seems like it's going to freeze, but then it doesn't, but that's across all versions of the game. But overall, I mean, the art direction, the art style, the voiceover, the voice acting, and the color palette, it's all pretty warm and inviting, and it really invokes memories of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the novel or the movie, and a little bit of Spaceballs as well. So if you like those films or the novel, you might want to dive into this. It's just kind of limiting overall because, you know, your ship is only about 8 to 10 rooms. There's about 3 outside environments, and then there's like 1 additional environment beyond that, and that's kind of it that you get as far as real estate goes. So there's just not really a whole lot of content. I mean, all dialogue, all interactions. For the most part, you're looking at about maybe 2 hours investment into the game. Then there's the fact that the game came out at $18.49 US. That's a little expensive for a game that most people are probably going to beat in about an hour and a half, without any kind of guides or anything. And then there's the title itself, Her Majesty's Spiffing. Spiffing for Americans sounds a little too close to yiffing, and trust me, you don't want to be associated with a word like that. But yeah, I really did find a game I kind of liked. I give it a 62, that's above average. Average is a 50. And I kind of want to see more from the developer. But yeah, it's just a little unfortunate with the name that I took so long to actually try it until it went on sale, because I didn't know what spiffing was. I didn't know if it was British slang, but no, it's just the acronym for the outfit that goes into space. But yeah, I'd say give it a try if it sounds good.